Good evening, and thank you for taking a moment out of your busy life to watch this video about the AI data centers that are being built everywhere. Some people would call this fear porn, but the good news is that Jesus Christ died for your sins, and so long as you believe on him, you shall have eternal life. So as long as you are saved, then you have nothing to worry about. All these things must pass. But you are also to become as wise as serpents, and it is wise to be aware of what is going on around you. And it is with this mindset that I bring you this presentation. And I hope you all find this to be useful and of interest to you. And without further ado, I present to you the AI data centers of the Beast system.
Mr. Hollingsworth, I know that you had your hand up to talk.
Hello, my name is Will Hollingsworth. I work at Reed Memorial Library, and thank you all for hearing me today. I'm not a cynic when it comes to technology. My love for it started when my uncle first sat me down at a beige Windows 95 computer and began teaching me HTML. This love of the digital shaped my career as I went on to become a programmer and a professional content creator. In my last job, I was the digital artist they trusted to do that kind of work. I was the one feeding Midjourney prompts to create the perfect commercial, training the very machine that would eventually replace me, as 3 months later they would lay me off. I didn't just watch it happen, I was holding the tools when the tools were turned on me.
So it is no secret that technology companies are laying off workers. And artificial intelligence is linked to layoffs in other companies as well, such as Amazon. So they are taking our jobs and making all of us obsolete. Therefore are many predictions out there that the AI will take all of our jobs. So this means that the vast majority of people will be at the mercy of a jobless economy. Now, if you combine that thought with the fact that food, gas, and rent are becoming exponentially more expensive, then the predictive programming of putting us all on universal income becomes much more believable. And if you combine that thought with a coming social credit system, then you have a perfect breeding ground for the mark of the beast. You want food and shelter? Take the mark, because the data centers will track your every move and control you.
I want to stress I don't stand here as an enemy of progress. The thing is, when I look at the data center proposal, I don't see progress. I see a gamble where the big tech companies get the gold while Portage County foots the bill. Now, I know there are good faith arguments for this project. There are people in our community, informed, honest people, who will tell you that the modern data centers use what's called a closed loop system. They say the water is filled once and recycled forever. In a laboratory, that might be true, but we aren't living in a laboratory. We're living in Ohio. I can tell you that as the chips get smaller and AI demands get larger, the heat these machines generate is outstripping the closed loop theory. To keep the servers from melting, a data center has to bleed the lines to remove toxic sludge, aka forever chemicals, and bleeding water needs to be evaporated. It does not stay in the loop. It evaporates into the sky by millions of gallons. The very place that laid me off was an organic mattress company, and while working for them, I actually learned a lot about forever chemicals. I got to see how the sausage gets made. I saw the inside of those so-called regulations. I saw how rigorous studies are often self-funded, a pay-to-play model where if you've got the cash, they'll give you the certificate. If a $1 trillion company is funding the study that says their forever chemical runoff won't hit our water table, they aren't giving us the science, they're giving us a sales pitch.
Revelation 16, verses 3 and 4. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. You have to wonder if these forever chemicals he is talking about from the AI data centers, in conjunction with their extravagant use of our water, will be linked to Revelation 16.
We're told that we have to accept this because we need big employers. We're told that if we don't say yes, we're driving away the future. But that's a false choice. A big employer who uses the water of 50,000 people, which by the way is a combination of both Kent and Ravenna, only hires about 10 people, is not an employer. They are an extraction. We are being asked to fund a 21st century luxury with a 19th century resource heist. We are being asked to sacrifice the lifeblood of our city so a $1 trillion company can save a fraction of a cent on its margins. We are being asked to drain our reservoirs so a chatbot can write a poem or so our sheriff can generate a picture of himself standing next to Bigfoot. They want us to trust a $1 trillion industry that tells us with a straight face that they can suck 5 million gallons of water out of our ground a day, use it as a liquid heat sink, and return it to our rivers without a single consequence.
Consequences? The only time the people in power are subjected to consequences is if they get out of line. Just ask John F. Kennedy about that. And for all you Karens out there who tell people to do things that you don't do yourself, such as write a letter to some liar politician or attend some local town hall meeting, when are you morons going to learn? It's like the blind leading the dumb. If you seriously think the powers that be are simply going to allow anyone from getting in the way of their plans, then you are even more delusional than I thought. Consequences are for the commoners, not the blue bloods. They own the federal government, they own your city council, and they own you.
They are asking for a measured approach while they hide their actual usage behind secret contracts and NDAs. Ohioans have seen this trick played before. We know what happens when massive utility interests and black box energy deals get fast-tracked behind closed doors. We're still paying the bill, literally, for the first energy scandal. We were told these bailouts were essential and measured too, and it turned out to be the largest racketeering plot in the history of our state. So when a trillion-dollar company asks for our water, our electricity, and our silence, we shouldn't just be asking for the facts. We should be asking who's really getting the kickback, and why is it our reservoir that's on the line? There is a reason the Ohio House just voted 88-0 to pause and study this industry. It wasn't an act of cynicism, it was an act of stewardship. They realize we cannot let these ghost towns move in then before we understand the damage they do to our grid and our water table. We are the county seat. We are the stewards of the Great Lakes Basin. Let Ravenna be the city that had the wisdom to say no to the bubble and yes to the basin. I am not a cynic when it comes to technology. I am a believer in community. I believe that a drop of clean water for a Ravenna child is worth more than 1 billion AI-generated images. Let us choose the child. Let us choose the community. Let us choose to keep our water where it belongs. Thank you.
So the water issue, as evil as it is for us, is just one of many issues with these AI data centers. I already briefly mentioned how everything is becoming less and less affordable. Things like housing, food, and other basic needs are getting out of reach for everyone. But these data centers will also drive up the cost of electricity. And these rising costs just add more strain to all of the people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I spoke to Cindy Krista about this. Her son personally worked on one of these ominous facilities because he wanted to see firsthand, from the inside out, what was really going on behind the scenes. And when he was asked about what he found, he said they were building Skynet, the infamous cyber system from the Terminator movies, which was out to destroy humanity. So if this doesn't get your Spidey sense tingling, then I don't know what will. This dystopian New World Order technocracy is rising from the ashes of the chaos of the Old World Order to enslave us all, or worse, in the Antichrist beast system. I honestly don't understand, at this point, how anyone can't see this. Unless, of course, they are so self-absorbed by the seductive nature of the Black Mirror that all they can see is the narcissistic reflection of their own self-absorbed ego. Forget the end of the world and all the souls that need to be saved. This is all about them. And now for a quick word about Texas. I am using Texas as an example because I used to live there and I have heard a lot of similar rhetoric from people who live there. And keep in mind that not everyone who lives there is part of some cowboy hive mind. This is just a general observation. In any event, what I have noticed, in general, about people from Texas is that they tend to interpret the world through the lens of politics, which most people by now have come to the conclusion that politics are fake. The whole red versus blue thing is an illusion of choice. The truth is that the elites who truly run this country and the rest of the world, from the shadows, just use our political leaders as puppets or figureheads. So voting and politics are basically a placebo to placate the masses into thinking they have a say in anything. They don't. But people in places like Texas, in general, want to think they are special, as they ironically cling to a sort of hillbilly elitism where they view themselves as having more gumption and common sense than people in other states, like New York or California. They tend to see the world through the filter of politics. Like, look at all those dumb liberals in California. Those stupid libtards have no common sense. And if you take that point of view and compare it to the rest of the world, then you get comments about how America is a bit more special and braver than other countries, because unlike those sissies, we have the Second Amendment. We have the right to bear arms, so none of that stuff that ever happens in other countries can ever happen here. We are special. This is similar to how some Texans view the other states. But this kind of thinking is the culmination of years of programming. People with this mentality are not seeing the big picture. They are still trapped in the illusion of politics. It is nothing more than deception. But like in the movie They Live, it can be a struggle to get them to see through the lenses of truth. The people behind the curtain, the ones who truly run the world, control Texas as much as they control New York or California. It's just that the programming is different. For example, while so many people in Texas were busy saluting their state flag proverbially, they had no clue that their state was giving birth to the satanic cows that were foretold to bring on the Antichrist. So it wasn't California that brought forth the means to sanctify the third temple of the son of the devil, it was Texas. And now Texas is leading the way in building more AI data centers than any other state. So they not only brought the Antichrist red heifers into the world, but they are also leading the way to bring on the beast system. A news article states the following: Virginia is being kicked off its technology pedestal after long holding the distinction of being the most data center intensive state in the country. Old Dominion still leads with 320 centers in operation, but is projected to soon lose first-place status to Texas, which has escalated efforts to expand data centers with a host of building projects in the works, according to the Visual Capitalist's ranking system. And don't get me wrong, there is plenty of room to criticize New York or California, or America for that matter, but we have to get out of this petty mindset that we are different or special. Because what is happening with the data centers, in conjunction with other world events, is biblical. We are seeing prophecy unfold around us. And the kingdom of God is what is important, not the kingdoms, countries, or states of this worldly, carnal existence. And please remember, politics are only a distraction from the biblical events that are being revealed daily to all of us. And there are no states in heaven. States and such are man-made divisions composed of invisible and arbitrary lines. The only line here is the one drawn between those whose names are written in the book of life and those who are not. So whatever state you live in, or whatever country you live in, does not define who you are. They may one day take away our homes and make us all transients. But we have really all been transients the entire time. Because we may be living in this world, but we are not of this world. We are merely passing through to reach our true home. The following is from an article on the Harvard Gazette, written by Liz Mineo, titled, "Why Are Communities Pushing Back Against Data Centers?" Tech, data policy expert says concerns legitimate over rising power rates, water use, environmental issues amid mushrooming growth. Data centers, which house computer systems that help train AI models, are blanketing the country, a boom fueled by surging interest in AI and state tax breaks. More than 4,000 are already in operation, mostly in Virginia, Texas, and California, and 3,000 more are being planned or under construction. Data center developers and tech giants argue the projects benefit communities by creating new jobs and boosting local economic development through increased property tax revenue and future business opportunities. They also note that infrastructure must grow if the nation wants to remain a global AI power. But public opposition is mounting over the large water and electricity demands and other strains that data centers, often the size of warehouses, place on communities, according to a recent poll by the Pew Research Center. In this interview, which has been edited for length and clarity, Ben Green, assistant professor in the University of Michigan School of Information and Public Policy and a faculty associate at the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society, discusses the impact of data centers on communities, the factors behind their rapid expansion, and the potential for regulation. Residents are increasingly pushing back against plans to build data centers in or near their communities. Are their concerns legitimate or exaggerated? The public broadly is quite negative about data centers. Overall, their concerns are very legitimate. The public is concerned about rising electricity rates caused by data centers. They are concerned about the enormous water use that data centers require. They're concerned about public handouts in the form of tax breaks that are going to data center developers, and they're also aware that data centers don't bring meaningful economic development, especially in the form of jobs. I think the public is quite right to be concerned about data centers. My research and other research have shown that these are a bad deal for communities on the local level. I think the public is quite right to be concerned about data centers. It's been impressive just how well communities have organized around this, how educated they have gotten about the topic, and how many of these projects they have been able to stop. It's a sort of David and Goliath fight. Local communities are pushing back against some of the wealthiest companies in the world. Certainly not every effort is successful. Sometimes the wealth and power of these companies win out. But many data center projects have been blocked by local resistance, and many municipalities have passed moratoria that pause data center development. Now, when it comes to fighting back, by all means, do what you can do. But at the end of the day, like all other strategies that people have used to fight the New World Order, it is not going to change the inevitable. You will not understand this if you are still deceived by the world. Satan only has a limited amount of time left to bring on the apocalypse. So all we can do from a worldly point of view is buy time. That's it. In Revelation 13 it says the following, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations." This means that Satan will rule the entire world. And yes, in case you were wondering, that includes Texas. And with all the surveillance and facial recognition that is impossible to avoid, where do you think you will be able to hide? Just saying, spoiler alert, there are no scenarios where the self-professed Rambos of the world, otherwise known as the keyboard warriors, where they heroically win the day. Victory has already been won for you at the cross, but only the mark is waiting for you in the world. How much water and electricity do data centers require on average? The standard definition of a hyperscale data center is that it is more than 10,000 square feet with more than 5,000 servers. But even that is way below the current standard of the data centers that are being built today. Just a few miles from where I live in Ann Arbor, there is a big project, part of OpenAI's Stargate project in Saline Township, Michigan, where the plan is for it to be over 2 million square feet and use 1.4 gigawatts of energy. That is equivalent to the energy use of 1 million households. What is important here is not just the scale of an individual data center, but also the number of data centers that are being developed at rapid pace across the country, which is fueling a massive expansion in energy and water demand. Estimates suggest that within a couple of years, the electricity needed for data centers is going to be around 10 to 15% of total nationwide electricity demand. This means that the data center boom is putting severe strain on efforts to move the country toward renewable energy sources, often by prolonging the use of fossil fuel plants that had been slated for closure. Data center developers claim they bring jobs to local communities. What's your take on that? It's a significant false promise of these data centers. Developers say this because they know that it is attractive to policymakers. They come asking the state to give them benefits in the form of tax breaks, reduced regulations, or special zoning permissions in exchange for job creation. That also allows data center developers to play into this idea of spreading the aura of the tech economy and Silicon Valley across the country by saying, "We can bring a taste of Silicon Valley to Michigan or Ohio or Colorado." It's a significant false promise of these data centers. In practice, this is not what happens. The construction of data centers requires work because these are large construction projects, but that lasts a year or two. Sometimes that labor is local and unionized, and sometimes that labor is trade professionals who come in from other states. Once the data center is up and running, it requires very few people, often just 20 to 50 staff members, because it's not an office for software developers, product managers, or marketing experts. It is a warehouse of servers. And whatever you do in this life, you have to serve someone. But you will no longer be serving customers for a company, because there will be no more work. Your services are no longer required. You will be at the mercy of your social credit rating and the government handout of universal income. Do tax revenues and other community benefits outweigh the downsides of data center expansion? Unfortunately, there's just very little economic development that plays out on the local level. There is some tax revenue, but even that is reduced because of tax break policies. Over the last year, Virginia and Georgia have given up more than $1 billion worth of revenue as a result of tax breaks. That's money that is being handed back to the industry rather than going into public funds that could pay for infrastructure, schools, or healthcare. Also, there are not beneficial ripple effects like you might see with other industries. Living within a stone's throw of a data center does not mean that you are getting better or faster or cheaper access to these technologies. Communities in both blue and red states have pushed back against data centers. Why is this an issue that unites communities regardless of their political leanings? Data centers are becoming an important issue in local, state, and potentially federal elections because it is an important subject for voters. They can really feel how data centers affect their lives in ways that are tangible and concrete. And it's causing some interesting realignments and potential for bipartisan coalitions because it's not a simple left or right issue. Liberals and people on the left are concerned for environmental reasons and distrust in AI companies, but many conservatives are upset about data centers too. This introduces a sort of wildcard effect into future elections where being critical of data centers is a big winning issue for candidates. That played out in November in some Virginia and Georgia elections and is a hot topic for candidates campaigning right now, such as in the Michigan Senate primaries. So like we were discussing earlier, this issue with the AI data centers goes way beyond politics, which are nothing but a placebo deception anyway, to give the commoners the illusions of choice and empowerment. Just about everything you have been brainwashed to think in life has been a lie, but we are so close to the end now that it is getting more and more difficult to cover this up anymore. So if any true good were to come out of this, it is that people might begin to wake up to the truth about who is really pulling the strings in this world. What policy recommendations are needed to address the expansion of data centers? Regulation is definitely necessary. One important action is to repeal tax breaks for data center developers because they are incentivizing further data center development and are making it a further bad deal for communities. A large number of projects are happening because states have passed tax breaks to incentivize data center development. About 35 states now have these tax breaks in place as part of their recruitment pitch. There are many other considerations. First, transparency needs to be a bare minimum requirement. There's an amazing amount of obscurity in data center development right now. Contracts are secretive, and when they are made public, there are huge redactions, and policymakers are signing non-disclosure agreements. There should be early and consistent transparency about what's being proposed and what the terms of these deals are. There should be rate protections for consumers with clear contract provisions such that the cost of upgrading the utility infrastructure to service a hyperscale data center doesn't get passed on to consumers like you and me, which has been happening consistently across the country. If you live near data centers, your electricity bills are going up, often by a factor of 2 or more. There should also be a stronger voice for communities in determining whether to welcome data centers and under what conditions. One final piece is the need to think about broader planning on how much total water and electricity demand from data centers a state or a region or utility jurisdiction can handle. It's one thing to say that a state can handle one hyperscale data center, but quite another for that state to be welcoming dozens of such facilities. We have to make sure that we're not sacrificing climate goals just for the sake of building more data centers or building data centers faster. We should not be allowing the desire among the tech industry for rapid data center development to push renewable energy goals to the wayside. And where do you think all of this data will end up? Well, Palantir for one. So more than likely, a private company will have quick access to your medical records, your banking details, and any other information about you that you assumed would remain private. And what about the military? So the all-seeing eye of an ever stronger growing AI will autonomously make its own decisions armed with all worldly knowledge and power? Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?